travel quickly, especially while transporting goods. The rivers also served as a constant source of drinking water and food.
So now that Bill and I have successfully found each other, we're moving. We're doing what we set out to do. We know that the salmon have migrated up this river to lay eggs. The problem is, after they spawn, both the male and the female salmon die. So we need to move.
All right, it's way too wide here. We're gonna get some of these salmon. We gotta go where it's constricted.
Look, it's just funneling in right here. Just keep going up.
At this point in the fish run, salmon are traveling up these very rivers to lay their eggs. We need to find a location where the river narrows. Fish are funneled into one location for us to catch these fish.
In order to do that, we're gonna have to beach this boat and continue by foot to a smaller stream that branches off this river. Slippery.
Salmon are going to go into pools or anywhere where the river's flow is interrupted. So anywhere where they can settle and find a safe haven for eggs, the salmon will go.
Getting deeper, huh?
Well, we have a strong current. The rocks are super slippery, and it's just difficult and slow going.
5,000 years ago, in the Pacific Northwest, the seasonal salmon run sustained huge populations of early humans.
Oh, God.
Is that a dead fish?
But this bounty was only available for a short window of time each year.
Look, there's even skin everywhere on the bottom.
Missing the run could deprive an entire community of their main food source.
This is a salmon graveyard.
There are dead fish everywhere. Fish are floating downriver, fish are trapped in rocks.
Look at that.
It's a huge fish. He's not that old.
This could be really bad news. It is quite possible that Bill and I are too late.
You know, these runs last for several weeks, so we still might have a shot.
Look, do you see that?
Yep. Salmon take advantage of slower moving water in these rivers. In more constricted areas upstream, salmon like to congregate in pools because they expend less energy maintaining their location in the river. We can see the fish in this stream. They're everywhere and they're huge.
Right there.
Oh my God, that was huge. But there's no way to catch these fish with our bare hands.
We gotta come up with a better strategy.
The only way the cat and I can truly take advantage of this resource is to recreate some of the basic technologies that people used here 5,000 years ago to catch them, process them, and store them.
We need a shelter right now. And to preserve salmon in a wet environment, we need to smoke them. I'm going to kill two birds with one stone by building a smoker shelter. The shelter is going to protect us from the rain and also act as an enclosement for the smoker. I'm going to take some of the young trees and weave them together. Rather than cutting and collecting a lot of wood, I'm going to use what's right here. That is going to be the frame for our shelter. It's gonna be pretty strong because everything has roots. So I've just saved myself a ton of work because I don't have to stake it into the ground. Every day, there are salmon dying. So not having this shelter done means that I could affect our success. Bill and I have a lot of work to do.
And I'm using natural plant fibers, just like people did here 5,000 years ago to create this net. So here I taken the cordage apart and rewrapping it just to make this ring. And I'm gonna start tying the net around this ring. Just keep dropping down in different rows and expanding the net as I go. One simple mistake, like tightening one of these knots the wrong way, can render this net useless. All this effort will be for nothing, and a fish can escape.
I'm going to build a smoker into this shelter. I'm creating a fire pit essentially outside of the shelter that has a tunnel that will go inside so that I create as much smoke as possible to smoke the fish.
For Cat and I to succeed here, we need to reproduce what people were doing here in the past. Taking advantage of the abundant salmon resources in these rivers requires communal fishing strategies and advanced technologies. And people in the past, even 5,000 years ago here, developed the infrastructure and the technologies to realize the full potential of this resource.
Just putting a little bit of moss on the shelter. The bark's shingled underneath so that water that hits this will run down. I want to make sure that this is really thick, so this can be as airtight as possible to use it as a smoker.
People 5,000 years ago in this very location were using leaster spears to catch salmon. A leaster spear is an amazing technology that utilizes a combination of different materials, all coming together to produce a lethal fishing weapon.
The leaster spear revolutionized fishing for the early inhabitants of North America. It was comprised of 3 strategically placed barbs. The outer barbs trap the fish, while the middle barb creates the fatal puncture wound.
I'm grinding this bone to make one of the 3 barbs for this leaster spear. I'm gonna lash this barb to this arm with sinew. Essentially sinew is animal tendon. And then waterproof it by covering it with pitch.
So this is the smoker. I want to make this as tight as possible because I'm going to put a fire in here, and then once the fire's going, I'm going to smother it so that all of the smoke is forced into the shelter, and we will hang our fish in there and use the inside to smoke meat during the day when we're not in there, so even if it rains, we'll be okay. I think that's pretty good. To be honest, I won't really know until I try it out.
The sinew I used to attach this bone barb is awesome stuff. I chewed on it, wrapped it around here, and when it dried, it shrunk and held this thing really, really tight. The problem is it doesn't do very well in water. If this is in the water, a bunch of the sinew is going to come apart. So I'm waterproofing it by covering it with this pine pitch. I'm hoping that this spear is exactly what I need to catch these fish. Cat, this looks amazing. Truly amazing. We now have the infrastructure in place to preserve salmon on a larger scale, just like the people in this area did prehistorically. We can sleep, we can stay dry, we can smoke fish. I think we're ready. We've got our work cut out for us tomorrow.
Everyone wants something from the great Picasso.
This was where I was meant to be.
Science and pop culture collide. I am the Savage Kingdom.
Ever wonder what the future will be like? Well, here's a little glimpse for you. Experience a world of virtual reality.
Step to the door of the future.
Interact with a real-life robot. So there's no need to wonder anymore. Come and take a peek into the future for yourself at the Petroscience Science Festival, KLCC.
World's Top Model. Brand new season. Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on Fox Life.
This September, we leave no stone unturned on National Geographic. From the tombs of kings to lost civilizations.
So many tiny details are visible again.
The truth behind these ancient mysteries have eluded us until now.
His head was made into a trophy head.
Lost treasures. In the days and weeks after D-Day, Nazi soldiers tried their hardest to stop Allied forces from freeing Europe.
No one can be sure what's down there.
But what happened next came at an immense cost. Hitler's last stand. The smartest show about stupidity is back. Learn the science behind the world's most outlandish mishaps. Featuring reckless but relentless individuals. These guys will try anything. Science of Stupid. Leave no stone unturned this September on National Geographic.
The business was on course to make millions.
I never pictured myself being God. I was only 25 years old. This is where it may all end for me.
The prison was renowned as being gang controlled, completely corrupt.
I felt like a lamb being led to the slaughter.
Locked Up Abroad. Tonight at 10 on National Geographic.
I'm freezing, but I have so much adrenaline because this is like the golden pot at the end of the rainbow. But I don't know if this net is going to hold up. I don't know if I'm going to be quick enough to get these fish.
Hopefully, if we do this right, this entire pool full of salmon is ours for the taking. We haven't had a real meal in days, and I'm not sure how much longer we can go. We've put everything we've got into getting here and making tools to acquire food. If we can't catch these fish, we're in really big trouble.
The social and economic impact of salmon was profound for our ancestors. They were able to capitalize on this short-lived bounty by preserving, storing, and trading the fish, thus creating one of the world's first sedentary communities not based on agriculture. North America was truly the land of abundance.
I'm going to get the smoker started.
All right. This is a seasonal resource. These fish only come at a certain time of year, but they utilize this resource all year round. And the only way that they could do that was because they could preserve these fish. And they did this without refrigeration, without being able to freeze them. Smoking these fish and doing it properly allowed them to eat the salmon that only come up these rivers at a certain time of year, all year round. The flesh in this fish is completely different. It's not pink like the others. It's not firm, it's flimsy. Almost all the fat's gone. This fish is towards the end of its run. The nutrient-dense part of this fish right now is in its eggs. This is almost 100% fat. This is an excellent food to eat. High in nutrition, high in fat. But this is great to preserve. It's actually easier to smoke and dry this fish than it is for the fish that's still full of oil in the beginning of its run.
Bill, this fire's ready. Whenever those fish are ready, I'll close off the smoker's hole and go in and hang them up.
Okay, let's do it now. It's ready. Here you go. Got it?
Oh, it's heavy.
Yeah. We'll keep smoking these fish until we go to bed, then put out the fire. That way, we can sleep safely tonight.
You know what? We're gonna have a feast tomorrow.
I'm looking forward to that. fish are ready. All of our hard work is paid off. Making the tools, planning, strategizing, setting up an infrastructure to smoke these fish. It's time to celebrate.
Wow, you got a ton of berries. Chanterelles, the seaweed. This is absolutely amazing. I mean, look at all this food.
Yeah, let's eat.
The fish is amazing. We can eat some now, pack it away.
Never before have Bill and I experienced an abundance of food like we are now.
This is really different than anything that we've done before. I mean, we've been in places where we've been hungry. We've been in places where we've actually eaten quite a bit. But what's different here is that we had this resource that we were after, and we almost missed it. I mean, we were at the tail end of this run, but you built an amazing smoker. We had the right tools, we had the right technologies, not just catch this fish, but process them and store them, just like it did in the past. I mean, this is the kind of thing people were doing even 5,000 years ago, right here.
Going from like one rock and a scavenged bit of marrow to this, and every step along the way, is a bit mind-blowing.
The big question now is, where do we go? And the best way to guide that direction is to know where we came from.
Throughout this journey, I've been able to push both the technologies and my body to the limit.
My fingers have stopped working.
We have water.
We did it.
To understand ourselves today, we need to know where we came from. This journey has provided me with such a deeper understanding of what it means to be human.
Bill, we got up this thing.
Nice job.
Whew. This is something still in us. The ability to survive and to adapt as we need to, when we need to.
Nice job.
But this is really the tip of the iceberg in terms of our path, in terms of technology, and in terms of where we went.
We made it to the sea.
There are other migrations. There are other stories to tell. There you go.
Let's get out of here.
Ours is the story of a desire to move forward, to see what's beyond the next hill, to change the world around us, to create, adapt, above all, survive. That desire still lives in us today. It's our connection to the past, and it's what makes us human. This is our story. This is the story of the great human race.
The business was on course to make millions.
I never pictured myself being caught. I was only 25 years old. This is where it may all end.